Switzerland is known for its beautiful landscape and precision-driven culture, but it also has a distinctive education scenarios. In the Alpine town of Leysin, the Leysin American School combines an American-style curriculum with a Swiss setting, focusing on safety, structure, and personal growth. We speak with Dr. Mark F. Ott, head of school at LAS, about these institutions' guiding principle, the future direction, and what draws students from across the globe. Thank you so much, Dr. Mark, for coming to India and talking to Free Press Journal about the Leysin American International School. The school has been founded in 1960s. Okay, tell me what was the vision and what was the thought process behind coming with the school in Switzerland with the American curriculums added to it?
Excellent question. Thank you very much for welcoming me here. It's a privilege to be back in India. It's been the first time in several years I'm back. So the vision essentially was by my grandparents. My grandfather was a Swiss who immigrated to the United States as a child in the 1920s. And he then was involved in the after post-war time in Germany as a US military officer. So being Swiss, he spoke perfect German, and he also was an American officer. So he was involved in the Nuremberg trial and other things. So he obviously witnessed indirectly some of the horrors that happened during World War II. So one of the things that then came over time was essentially the idea of essentially bringing different people together who may have been in conflict or not. And that was what my grandmother did. My grandmother came to Switzerland in 1947, and she started a summer program called International Ranger Camps, which essentially brought young people all over together. And a lot of the counselors were German, French, American, of which some of them just a few years earlier were fighting each other. And I think that sort of drove part of the idea and the vision to establish a school where different people from different backgrounds would come together and value more, I would say, what we are all as human beings and put that more up front. The American, obviously, at the time came from the fact that America was so much the dominant force in those days. The British and French colonies were all closing down. America was coming as an economic, cultural force all over. The American expatriate community was growing around the world, especially in Europe, Africa, and in the Middle East, and there was a need for boarding school. So these things all came nicely together, and that's how, at the time, the Leysin American School was founded.
Okay. What are the special advantages that the students of the Leysin American School gets when they get the admission over there? What are the advantages they have?
So I would say what we do is really we try to have students become the best version of themselves. We're not trying to create a certain type of student that has to sort of fit into a box. We want them to strive independent of their background, independent of where they come from, gender, age. Let them be themselves, let them be creative, let them learn, support their learning on an individual basis, also based on models of experiential learning. So it's not just pure theory, it's also learning by learning from different aspects that they learn around the world of their experience and how to learn that way. So I really think that experiential learning is a tremendous strength, and also the individualization on what we do. Experiential learning can be through modeling entrepreneurship. It can also be doing outdoor activities like the Duke of Edinburgh program, where they're having to learn how to be and sleep out in a tent, out in the nature. All these things sort of are offered to our students, and I think that's what makes it very unique.
So Switzerland is mostly famous for the safety and the equality over there and the quality lives balanced over there. So, whereas the American education system is more about the critical thinking and analytically planning and everything. So how does the LAS balances out the two different worlds together?
I think we sort of bring them nicely together because we, in some respects, we're also hosts there. And Switzerland offers a tremendous freedom on how we can run the school. We don't have any government imposition on how the curriculum does run. Switzerland, obviously, as you know, is a multicultural, multilingual country in itself in a very, very small space. So that also offers, I think, the country and its culture a very creative, innovative outlook, which really fits, culturally speaking, very well with our philosophy of essentially encouraging kids to also be innovative, creative in their outlook. And I think that's a tremendous strength in terms of how we operate as a school.
And how does your school's international students contribute to the cultural differences in the given, like it's like a multicultural, lot of students from the different culture background, they comes to one places. So how do they happen to make it, like, maybe teach to the other kids, like how it functions over there?
So we have different policies that support that. So for example, I was just last Sunday going through the dorms. I met with all of our Indian students, and one of them has a roommate from Russia. Another one has a roommate from the United States, and another one had a roommate from Brazil. So that alone, I think, just stimulates, I think, a certain creativity of learning from different cultures. We also celebrate big holidays. For example, this year it's a bit different because of because of the trips right now. But if Diwali would fall while we're in school, we would also celebrate Diwali, as we would also celebrate Thanksgiving, Chinese New Year's, and other sort of big events where kids then participate and show off, their culture and pride from where they're coming from.
Is there any new upcoming innovations in your school?
Yeah, so we just rolled out a big program called Changemakers at LAS. So we added a couple of courses around innovation, creativity, entrepreneurship, where essentially kids are helped to train to sort of have an entrepreneurial mindset in different courses. So like a course called pre-MBA. So they'll do different simulations on entrepreneurship. They learn financial literacy and all kinds of things. This partnership, this Changemakers, is done in cooperation with Babson College in the United States. Babson College runs a program that we have trained our teachers to teach within Changemakers called the EPIC program. And so the kids then at the end of having reached their goals will receive a Babson College certificate. As a reminder, Babson College was just again ranked as #1 college at the undergraduate level in the space of entrepreneurship. So for us, it's a privilege to have that partnership that's been developed by Babson College.
So what is like a criteria for this program? Like the students over there, it's like particular grades can apply for this program, or it's been open for everyone?
So it is for the upper grades, so grade 10, 11, 12. So obviously we have to help kids find a way that it works in the curriculum, because they still have to finish a high school diploma, or for some kids are doing the IB diploma, or other kids are doing a combination of IB certificates and advanced placement, AP classes. So it's more, how do we fit it into the regular demands of completing the high school at LAS.
And apart from, like, once they have completed the program, they get the certificate. So is there anything like, maybe the school or the university is helping out and actually help to build up their entrepreneurship, or is just like a program stuck to it? So what would be the structure for this program?
So obviously they'll get a certificate, which will be which is being used right now also to apply for universities. So they're saying these kids have accomplished the program, they've met the standards of the program, and that will be part of their application process to different universities. So the goal, obviously, we just rolled out the program, but we believe that it's going to certainly help for some of the kids who are looking at very selective universities, whether it's US, Canada, UK, and I have no doubt it's going to contribute.
And can you tell us more about the initial summer program, summer leadership program, which your grandmother actually came up with the idea? That program, how different it is right now from the initial days? Like, is it different, or it's been innovated, or it's just like a same process what been followed?
I think there are a lot of similarities. I mean, we've had it for as long as I remember, essentially, sort of, I would say classes in the morning. They're not heavy-duty classes that are driven by credits or things like that. They're sort of fun classes, simulating classes in the morning with afternoon different activities, sports, theater, excursions on weekends, all those things. So the summer is really an enrichment program. For 3 weeks, it's a great opportunity, be in the beautiful mountains, make new friends from all over the world. And for a lot of kids, they want to see the summer program as eventually to come to us for the school year. So it's really also a great way for kids to say, hey, listen, I just want to be away from home for 3 weeks, see how it works out, and possibly down the road enroll for the school year.
And what are the most significant personal values in your background or from your family background that tradition has shaping the ethos of your school?
So our values are around respect. So we have 3 values that we've defined at the school is around respect for self and others. So around respect is respecting anybody independent of their identity or identities. Everybody carries multiple identities, that we all respect each other with dignity. That's the first one. The second one is around respect for the environment, especially where we are in Switzerland. I mean, it's close to a pristine environment, and we all know we have tremendous challenges ahead about environmental changes. And the last one is essentially the respect for giving back. You know, our students essentially largely come from tremendously privileged background. It's privileged to receive an education at our school, that we would like to also instill the value that they will give back in any capacity they can, locally, internationally, or however they feel fit. As I just witnessed earlier at the top floor with all these foundations, which I thought was an absolutely amazing experience. So,
Driving from your experience, can you tell us what drives the Indian parents to the LAS? And they have this certain level of expectation and the needs for that. So how does your school make sure to just fulfill all those expectations the parents have?
Yeah, so I think we're obviously looking for parents, whether it's from India or other parts of the world, are, they might look first to UK, they might look at US or Canada, but in the end of the day, still I would say the UK boarding schools are primarily very British in their outlook and their functioning. The US boarding schools, similar, they tend to be very American, North American. So really, I would say, if you narrow that out to looking, if families are looking for a truly international experience, really the only boarding schools that you can find are in Switzerland. So that's what would drive Indian families who are really looking for a true international boarding school experience to Switzerland. And I believe that's also reflected in the future and where things are going. I think the network and the friendships that are created, we see that with alumni. I was recently in touch with an alumni in Delhi who graduated 20 years ago. I mean, just endlessly thankful and using those friendships and network that he at the time developed when he was with us, still to this day as both support, business opportunities, and more.
Understood. So basically, post the schools, the alumni are helping out the school as well in terms of giving out the internship opportunities or anything as such.
Yes, yeah. So I'm my trip continues on to Delhi, Bangkok, Taipei, Tokyo, and Seoul, and in different places. I'll be also we'll be attending LAS events. We call them global family events, where we have essentially alumni, some current families, and maybe even some families that are interested all coming together, and just meeting up, people who have like-minded values and ideas that come together. And obviously for us, it's an opportunity to get the name out there and also help the school.
And what are the important skills and experience the students, the LAS students gain while they're studying over there, so they can be future ready, globally they are ready for the environment? It's
a great question, because we're obviously in a world that is changing extremely rapidly, especially now with artificial intelligence. So we're looking at skill set around communication, storytelling, which obviously is very much in your line of business. Yeah. Also around critical analytical thinking, around collaboration, and how to assess also how information can be used in a wise way, and just a human connection. I certainly believe that AI is going to essentially ultimately drive more strengthening what it means to be human. And that's, I think, one of the things that we're doing very well. We all remember COVID. I don't think anybody wants to go back down there with endless Zoom conferences. And I think it just reminded us that we're all human and that the face-to-face connection is going to always trump the virtual connection. And I think that is one of the things I think that we do very well, and we also get a lot of credit and recognition from our alumni on how they felt like that they gained that. Today, obviously, we're doing it more in a more systematic way with Changemakers at LAS, with the partnership with Babson. So I think we're also moving along with the times with that and trying to be, I would say, ahead of the conversation and really being very strategic on how do we prepare kids in an age where we're preparing for jobs that do not exist today.
Since we are on the topic of the AI, what are your initial thoughts on the AI? Like, how do you perceive it? Like, is it going to be a threat to the works and studies or the curriculum of the education system? At the same time, and how does the LAS make sure that the students are adapting at the AI?
That's a fantastic question. So obviously, on the one hand, one can say, "Oh my God, it's going so fast." It can feel scary. On the other hand, it is actually very exciting too.
Yeah.
And I think finding that right balance on how do we manage that. So we as a school provide regular training, obviously, to our teachers on how they can use AI tools to better teach, which then is translated into how it is done in the classroom. That I think is absolutely critical because there are new tools coming out all the time, and it's very important that our teachers know that. I would say the role of teachers is changing very much so. As an example, the word for teacher in Spanish or French means master, if I translate it that way. And master has a bit of a hierarchical top-down approach. We view teacher more as a coach. Everybody can get a whole bunch of information just at their fingertips. A lot of information can be processed, obviously, now with ChatGPT and other tools. But students, and frankly also adults, we still need guidance and coaching on how to do that. So the role of teaching from that aspect is changing, and we're training our teachers to really just continue to be ahead of that.
How does the LAS facilitate the Indian student to excel apart from the academics?
Obviously, as a boarding school, and I'd say one strength we're 100% boarding school. All of our students live on campus. Is that our teachers are not just teachers; they also do activities. So they have a whole bunch of activities that students can choose from. Sports activities, anywhere from obviously the traditional basketball, football, volleyball to skiing, snowboarding in the winter, but also other activities around theater, music, leadership opportunities as well that we provide. And I think living also in the dormitory, we also support kids on an individual basis. So it's really that individual attention that we give to students so that we see them grow ongoing beyond just traditional classroom setting.
You did mention that the LAS is a 100% boarding school. So what are your thoughts on the residential school versus the day school that has been run?
I believe very much in the boarding school education. My daughter just enrolled in grade 10. I think day schools, a lot of day schools obviously have a whole bunch of activities, but still, it's not a holistic education in the purest form. It's still very much like at home. They go home or they do other things, and sometimes we don't know what's happening at home either. In a boarding school environment, they're under our care all the time. So we also can provide curriculum in the dormitory, in the evening, and all those things. And we know that for teenagers, oftentimes it can be challenging. It's that sort of, we're no longer a kid, we're no longer a child, we're not 100% an adult. And that transition period can be sometimes very difficult for a lot of kids, as we know. And I think managing that from other adults, I think is a tremendous opportunity for growth for the kids.
And how do you ensure that these students are, academically they are growing at the same time they have like a socially and emotionally, given that you have mentioned like it's very difficult for them to process. So how do you make sure that, how does school make sure to do that?
So we have different support systems that we have. We obviously in the classroom we have classes, the teachers. That's quite clear. And then there are other ways that we support kids in the dormitory through the dorm supervisors. We also have counselors if and when need be. We also have what we call faculty family. So faculty family, a lot of schools will call that sort of like an advisory system. We call it faculty family. So I was a long time also a faculty father, and the kids would call me LAS dad, and I think we would meet once a week with the students, and it was always fun because we would also just almost sort of be surrogate parents, and the kids very much enjoyed that, and I think that was an important part of the support. And I would have direct connection with the actual parents at the same time. So that's sort of that aspect that I think made it extremely powerful, and that we've had pretty much since the beginning of the founding of the school, which works extremely well today.
And another factor that right now with all these students is like a mental health, which is one of the emerging thing, though be it youngsters or the adults or anything, everybody faces this issue. So how do you make sure the school is addressing it and the students are aware about it, and maybe probably approach it if they are facing it?
So obviously we know that especially the generation of teenagers today, we can still see that they have scars left over from COVID. So there's no doubt about it. The research clearly says that these, and we also add now social media, excess use of social media, especially around girls, tremendous use also video gaming among many of the boys. There is issues around that. So for one, we've limited the use of cell phones quite strictly, and it's transforming the school. I mean, we see there's just much more meaningful connections. But in general, all of our teachers have basic training in counseling. They're not counselors, but they have basic training in counselors. And so oftentimes a student might gravitate more to one teacher versus another teacher. They have the basic training in, and if there are issues, the teachers have to be open and say, listen, I think you need to now see a counselor, because this is maybe an element or an area I'm not qualified to support you. And that's a tremendous opportunity in a boarding school, because all of our teachers, they also do dorm duty in the evening, they also do activities. So they'll know very rapidly if one student is not doing well, whether suddenly the grandmother passed away, or whatever, the parents are getting divorced. And then we know that quite rapidly because our teachers are around the students all the time. And then we can be much more proactive in offering support.
Another thing is about the usage of the social media, that the youngsters or the students usually prefer to do it, and they keep going on the social media. How does the schools make sure that there is a very, if they are using the social media as well, there's a limitation to this usage of it, or is it completely banned over there?
So obviously it's impossible to entirely ban things, and one has to be totally realistic about that. But what we do is essentially, and my daughter also loves TikTok and Snapchat and things like that. And since she's with us in grade 10, she only gets the phone after classes around 4 o'clock. And even then she doesn't have much time for use of the phone. And then she has to return the phone at 7:30 when study hall starts. So that's the only time they really have access, certainly at that age group, access to phones. So yeah, we can't totally ban it, and nor are we trying to intend to do it. I think there's some benefits of social media too, of just being able to connect with kids and friends in different parts of the world. But I think the issue is the excess use of social media, and that's what we're trying to train kids more about how we do that. So one example is we had a young woman who actually worked in our summer program, 20 years old. She 4 years ago published a book about her dependency on social media and how she banned it. And she worked in our summer program. We kept her for a couple of weeks, and she worked with in the dormitory with our students to have them understand some of the issues about the excess use of social media. So it's like any new technology. It's not bad per se, but the excess use is not good.
And another thing is the when students are completing their studies, post that they would probably going for the universities and all. How does the school make sure they get a proper guidance toward to which university or which career they should be choosing? So how does LAS help out in this?
So we have 4 university advisors full-time at the school, working with, this year we have a graduating class of 87 students, but they start working with kids already really actively, I would say grade 10 on, even in grade 9 we start talking about. So there's a whole process of already getting them to think of, well, high school, is this an intermediate step before they go to the next stage? And then we don't only work with the kids, but we also work with the parents. What are their expectations? How can we help them out? And then there's a whole process to make sure that if we're looking at their senior year, deadlines are met, applications are submitted. For US universities, they've done the SATs, and so on and so forth. So it is a pretty in-depth process, and it's a process that we take extremely seriously in supporting kids going, whether it's the United States, Canada, UK, and now we're also seeing a growing number of kids essentially wanting to study in continental Europe. But every now and then we also have kids going to other universities. We have, I think, in the graduating class, one student interested in going to Singapore. I was just talking to one of the Japanese students who wants to go to a Japanese university. So it's becoming much more global in the last 10 years than just US, Canada, UK, which is interesting to see as an evolution.
Initially, you mentioned that you have your school has a collaboration with the US university, right? The Baptist University.
Yeah.
Right. So is there any plan of having any sort of a collaboration with the Indian universities as such?
We would love to have more collaborations with universities. So if it would be here in India, we could have a good collaboration. We would certainly see how it could work out. There are different ways of doing collaborations, and I think there are tremendous opportunities. And I think anything that could essentially expose kids to different perspectives, different viewpoints from different parts of the world, I think is a tremendously enriching opportunity.
The last question that I want to know is what advice do you want to give to the Indian students as well as the Indian parents, that if they're looking for education into the international board, so what advice you would like to give to them?
I would say obviously different schools, different values, different backgrounds. We're certainly a good fit for a number of kids with coming from certain families with certain values and certain perspectives. My only advice is narrow it down, visit. I think visiting a school, in the end of the day, it's does the student, does the family feel comfortable? Do they feel at home? If we just take the Swiss boarding schools, if they go to the other schools and they said, "Oh, I'm happy here," that's okay too, But I think in the end, I think all the Swiss boarding schools are great schools, they also have differences, and they all have somewhat different backgrounds. But in the end, I think visiting is the most important. And then the academics is for us the basics. Every school has overall pretty solid academics. It's beyond what the academics is. I think that defines every school slightly in a different way. So another thing I would strongly recommend as well is the summer program. There are a number of kids from India that will go to summer programs in Switzerland. We also have our own summer program. Tremendous opportunity. It's 3 weeks. Come and see the Alps. It's beautiful. It's nice and cool. You learn something, and that could be a first taster to also consider LAS as a school down the road. So.
Since we are on this summer program, can you tell me a bit more about what are the process of getting into this program? The Indian students how they can apply it if they want to apply for this?
For the summer program?
Yes.
So everything's online. So, just going to las.ch/summer. So everything's right there. And we have different people that will help out in terms of the process if they need any help and guidance for the summer program. And one thing I know, just to reassure essentially parents, is that we always pick up kids at the airport, at Geneva Airport. So, just to make sure that we're there. And oftentimes also the Indian parents might say, I might come, drop off my children, and then go for a home vacation, and then again pick them up at the end. So it's a nice combination of combining some good learning, enjoyment, and vacation.
Understood. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.